Hi, and welcome to We Are Here Too, a podcast about mental health and moving abroad. My name is Francesca, I'm your host. My accent may give away that I'm Italian and I live in Scotland. So let's go straight to the point and talk about relationships. Why relationships? Well, we may move abroad for different reasons, but what is really sustaining us is like human connections. And, if you've followed the podcast so far, you may have noticed that I always talk about like community and being supported by other people, finding your social networks, using the connections that you have back home to keep you going when you first move abroad, or in general when you're not feeling your best or there are a lot of transitions happening in your life. Relationships are incredibly important, and I'm thinking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Recent representation of these needs are in the shape of like a pyramid, where you would find at the very bottom the needs that we need to attend first to survive and function as human being. And then at the very top of the pyramid, we will find needs that are used for growth. The needs for love and belonging are exactly in the middle of this pyramid. Belongingness is a human emotional need for interpersonal relationships, affiliation, connectedness, being part of a group. And you can see here how important it is for our life abroad. I don't think I've ever considered friends, family until I moved abroad and I started meeting people there. And at times when I was feeling incredibly homesick, those people were there to remind me my whys, which was amazing. They could provide that for me, and then to bring me comfort. I remember like a dear friend of mine, she used to phone me up and make me food whenever I was feeling low, or would come to me and invite me over for a cup of tea. And these things will stay with me forever, because those were the people who were physically there for me at times when actually I was really craving familiarity, and familiarity in form of comfort. But relationships, when we live abroad, for the very nature of us living abroad, are a bit ephemeral, or that's the feeling. And that's simply because I'm on my own trajectory of life abroad, and the people I'm meeting are in their own trajectory. And then when we meet, it's beautiful. We can gather, we can support each other and laugh and be there when life happens. But then, these trajectories sometimes just clash for a moment and go opposite directions. And when that happens, it can feel incredibly unsettling and isolating, and I would say scary. And I am sure I'm not the only one to have stories of incredible friendships that lasted a couple of years, and then everyone moved apart. And it doesn't mean though that the friendship ended necessarily, but it simply meant we're not sharing the same physical space. And we learn how to nurture friendship who are not in our like proximity. And we learned that the moment that we decided to move away from our home country. And now we are basically repeating the story. And it's out of our control, because we are not deciding necessarily to move. Other people are. And we are basically trying to learn like this new dance of like, okay, what does it mean for me to stay? And how am I going to cope with this? Okay, so let's talk about intimate relationships for a second, because here things get a bit more complicated, right? Like, yes, we have friendships and then we have intimate relationships, and in a way, we feel like a bit more tied up. Yeah, so the other person's decisions and situationships will impact us regardless. Okay, if we decide to be intimate with that person or with those people, right? And so the thing is this, right? Like, you can be same nationality abroad, you can be from two different nationality in a third country, you can be with someone who's local, so basically is from your host country, and then we add friends. Of the couple who live in different parts of the country or of the world. Then we add the families, and maybe these two families don't have a language in common necessarily. Then we have kids, and then throw in there like visa issues, right? Like, we all know stories of people who struggle to stay in the country and continue a relationship because their visa expired. Or we all know stories of people who went through a lot of hardship because they were struggling to get their visa renovated. Okay, so we all know these stories, and things get more complicated if both partners are struggling with that requirement specifically, right? And then there is, all complications around like, okay, I need to relocate to find a new place where to stay, and so on and so forth. And then I don't know, what else do we want to add in there? Maybe we, the couple is from two different cultural backgrounds. They may have different mannerisms or different faith, and some people meet and everything is it just flows incredibly well, and some other times there are a bit of like, I don't know, like fights and battles and all sorts of like difficulties around like power differentials within the couple. And I mean, like, it's tiring even thinking about like all the different options, right? Like, and and considering the complexity of the world nowadays, when we have now a vocabulary to explain the complexity of relationships, like, then it becomes like, poof, I don't know you, but it's incredibly difficult. And then, and then not only you're trying to negotiate boundaries with your partner so the relationship can survive in a way that makes you feel good and makes, your partner feels good, or your partners feel good. But then you also trying to negotiate all other layers of understanding and being in this world and in this society. And now, I would like to spare a couple of words for those who moved abroad because of a loved one, whether that's a partner, a parent, a child, or a friend. Let's think about this for a second, right? Like, usually when we think about people who move abroad, we think about, okay, you went with your spouse or with your partner, or with your lover, right? Like, but actually it's incredibly complex. And, in my head, when I was like preparing for this episode, I was thinking about like, how am I going to really encompass here the variety of experiences that people are going through. And then I landed to the idea of dependency. And when I say that, I'm not talking about codependency or any of these like pop psychology words that are doing the rounds on social media. Like those words will never belong to this podcast. But, by dependency, I simply mean like when we move abroad and we move abroad with a loved one, there is a tendency for us to put a lot of weight onto the other person's persona so that they can meet fully all our needs as a new expatriate, which means the need for safety, the need for play, for joy, for security, for companionship, for care, and entertainment, right? Like, and you know what I mean? Like, and then if it's an intimate partner, then also like the need for pleasure. And then we basically overloaded this other person with so many expectations that, usually like in a, let's call it healthier place, we would put on different people. But because we moved abroad and we don't necessarily have an established support social network, we just rely on that one person. And it's so easy then that when the smallest of things happen with that one person, then it feels like the world is crumbling. And so what do we do? And to me, when I thought of this scenario and of the scenarios of relationships and social networks as something very movable and changeable, like in the life of someone who moved abroad. And when I thought about like the complexity of intimate relationships, I was like, okay, so what is it? What is it? The answer? What is it like the connecting theme of them all? Often when our need for love and belongingness is not met, we tend to sacrifice who we are for the sake of belongingness. And that's true from our childhood to adulthood. So no one is exempt from it. But let me tell you that once we learn how to love ourselves and learn what we like and we enjoy doing and understand what our boundaries are, and we learn how to negotiate our being in relation to others, that's when belonging happens. That's when belonging happens in a way that it's fulfilling and growthful, rather than limiting and difficult. And that's it. It's a wrap for episode 11. Next week is going to be our last episode of season 1. I would like to take a moment, so I hope you're going to stay for another minute, to thank all of you who are following the podcast. It's been incredible. And thank you for those who as well contacted me privately to say how much this podcast means to them. Like, thank you so much. I would like to confirm that season 2 is coming end of summer, so hopefully it's going to be September, maybe beginning of October, with a brand new format. So I'm going to add interviews. I was banging my fists on the table just because I got excited about this new format, which will be interview based. I'm still planning to create episodes when I'm solo, but some of you reached out and suggested, hey, would you like to do interviews? And I'm like, yeah. I am going to share more on my Instagram account, which you can find at francescaloversocounselling. Thank you and see you next week. Bye.